time it's evening, so good evening. Yes, just to let you know that this session is being recorded and we're going live on YouTube now for folks who couldn't register in time. My name is Ifelua and I am a member of the City of Lane, Light African Network. Today's event is particularly special to me for so many reasons. First, I project manage this entire, this project itself called the Lane MBA for Africa. But besides that, we're kicking off today with a very special school to my heart, the London Business School. Thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you, Lena. Thank you, Dami. Thank you, Awele, for doing this today. We're very excited to have you all on board. But very quickly, before we have the LBS team jump in, I'm going to just talk a bit about Lane and who we are and how we support Africans who are on the MBA journey. So permit me to share my screen real quick. Yeah. Okay. So who are we at Lane? Sorry, one second. Let's move this. Okay. Like I said, Lane is short form for Light African Network. We call ourselves the City of Lane because we do believe we're a city. It's a group of like-minded individuals who are doing extraordinary things. And right now, we're focused on increasing Africa's representation in global MBA programs. Our vision is to build an economically and politically inclusive Africa. And how do we plan to do this? We plan to do this by equipping young Africans like myself, like you, to identify, support, and execute practical ventures to drive Africa's inclusive growth. For us at Lane, our guiding principles are clear. We're selfless. We're a group of diverse individuals. So you would find Nigerians, you would find Kenyans, you would find Ghanaians. It's quite a broad spectrum and we're excited about that. We're diverse, like I said, we're creative, we're inclusive, and we're accountable to each other. Our membership requirement is very easy and very simple. You just have to be an African who lives in Africa. You have to be at least 20, thank you, because you're applying for an MBA. Also, you have to just be very self-motivated, very enthusiastic about the MBA. And yeah, that's us really. On the program we have today, it's called the MBA for Africa. And the idea behind this is, while a lot of Africans are applying for MBA programs, we know that it's also very important to get first-hand information, from the admissions committees of schools, from the recruitment teams, and we thought, well, why not reach out to them and have them come and actually make presentations to us and let's hear what are the requirements, what are schools looking out for. I don't think it gets better than this, because it's really right at your doorstep, right? So this is exciting for us to do. Last year, we kicked this off. We had 12 admission officers come here from schools across the world. And this year, we're kicking it off again. And like I said, very excited to be starting with the LBS, the London Business School. Thank you guys once again for doing this. I'm going to pass on, mute myself now and have Lena jump in and take the show away. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ife. I'm sharing my screen. Can you guys see it?
Yes, Lena. Yeah, it works.
I guess I just need to make it big. Okay. Hi, everybody, and thank you once again for joining us today. Can you guys see my screen okay? Yeah, excellent. So once again, we're very excited to be kicking off this series of MBA for Africa webinars with Lane. We think this is a great initiative and we're very proud to be part of it. There is so much talent in Africa and events like this just give us the opportunity to meet you and also to introduce you to the LBS MBA program and our community as well. My name is Lena Ramos, and I'm one of the recruitment and admissions manager for the full-time MBA program here at LBS. I look after candidates coming from Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East. And today I'm joined by my colleague, Charlotte Smith, who is the Senior Global Recruitment Manager, but obviously I will hand over to Charlotte so she can introduce herself.
Thank you, Lena. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here this evening. As Lena said, we're really passionate about recruiting more Africans onto our MBA program. So we're really happy to be here to meet you all and to learn more about you. And hopefully this is just the start. If this is your first ever LBS event, then, stay connected. Let us connect you with the community and hopefully you can learn lots more about us. So my name is Charlotte, as Lena mentioned. I'm the Senior Global Recruitment Manager for the MBA program and also our post-experience Masters in Finance program. So if you are from the finance sector and maybe interested in that, then always reach out for that too. And also our Early Careers Masters programs, which are for those who have just or are due to graduate from their undergraduate program shortly. I've been at London Business School a little over 2 years now. In fact, I'm going to introduce a couple of students in a minute, and Dami is one of the first prospective students I think I ever met when I started at LBS. So never forget our coffee chat. I think it was one of my first. And yeah, love working in recruitment and admissions. I love everything that LBS is about and our culture and community and the diversity of it. So I'm very happy to be here to meet you all today. So as mentioned, we are going to be joined by a couple of students this evening. We hope that, this will help you to learn a little bit more from the student perspective as well, rather than just what we think about London Business School. But also, of course, our students have been through the admissions journey. So it's great for them to be able to share their journeys with you as we touch upon some of these points as we go through tonight as well. So delighted to be joined by both Dami and Awali. So Dami is an MBA 2022 student. Dami completed her bachelor degree in law from Durham University in the UK in 2014 and joined Herbert Smith Freehills, where Dami started as a trainee solicitor in London, and then moved into an associate role in the banking and finance space in Paris. Dami then joined PwC Nigeria for a pre-MBA internship and then joined LBS to explore other career opportunities. And we'll hear from Dami later how that exploration is going. Dami's just completed her summer internship and will be heading into second year. So looking forward to hearing more about that. Dami, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here. Hi, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining. And looking forward to connecting further in the session as well.
Thanks, Dami. And then Awali is an MBA 2021, not 2021, 2023. Have I put, yes, I put 2023 on the slide, good. But joined us in 2021, just 3 weeks ago, and is also our Mo Ibrahim Scholar. So Awali completed his Bachelor of Accounting Science from Which University, Johannesburg in 2013, and then joined the Nedbank Chartered Accountant Trainee Programme before moving into the investment banking space in 2017. Awali has just completed his third week of the MBA programme, so hopefully that means that your admissions journey is still very fresh in your mind and you'll be able to share all of your insights with our prospective students this evening. Thank you so much for joining us, Awali.
Thanks a lot, Charlotte. And I'm really glad I'm not an MBA 21 student because I'm still looking forward to the experience.
Yeah, you haven't graduated yet. That's good. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to hand back over to Lena, who's going to take you through everything that we're going to try and run through with you this evening in this short time that we have. But as mentioned, this is just the start and we're really happy to stay connected with you.
Okay, thank you, Charlotte. So yeah, in the agenda for this session, we will be covering a little bit more in detail the MBA program content. We're going to be talking also a bit about the application preparation. Obviously, because we're coming from the admissions team, we're hoping to give you some admissions insights based on our experience, tell you a little bit as well about how the admission process works, the timelines, and the requirements as well. And finally, we're going to be talking to you also about the funding options and awards available for African students. We are hoping to leave plenty of time to answer also any questions during our student panel. So we're very grateful with Danny and Awele for joining us tonight. So feel free to send your questions through the chat function, and we will try to cover them at the end of the session. So that was just a very quick introduction of what the session is going to be like. But I'm now delighted to hand back over to Charlotte, who is going to be kicking off the session. Over to you, Charlotte.
Thank you, Lena. So you've all heard a little bit about us and who we are. And so it's great to now be able to talk about you and why you might be here. So everybody has, their own motivations to apply for an MBA program. But I thought I would start by hopefully comforting you all a little bit to let you know that, an MBA really is for anyone who specifically is looking for leadership development, who is looking to enhance their network, and specifically at London Business School is looking to further their global perspectives. The reason I say that, and we'll tap into this a little bit more in a bit more detail, but we have a very international cohort at London Business School. So 90% of our students across all of our degree programs are international students, so come from outside of the UK. And we have it like that for good reason. We believe that diversity really is key in terms of making impact on business and making good business decisions. And so we're really proud of that. So, if you're looking for any of those things, then this is probably the right place for you. But some other motivations can vary. So some people might be looking for career acceleration. So, you're very happy in the sector and function that you're working in, but you're just looking perhaps for that leadership development to be able to accelerate your career to the next stages. But others might be looking for that career transition. So like I mentioned around DAMI, and we'll hear a little bit more from both of our students, might be looking to either change region or sector or function, or sometimes what we call the triple jump, all three of those things, which is also possible. So, that could be you as well. And then finally, we always have students at London Business School who have entrepreneurial ambitions, and we have a fantastic Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at LBS that offers a whole host of various resources to support our students with entrepreneurial ambitions too. So hopefully any of those things mentioned match you and your motivations to apply for an MBA program. So I'm going to head now into some information about the school specifically and our program and how you can continue your application preparation before submitting. And then I'll hand over to Luna to go through admissions requirements. So as I mentioned, my job title, if you like, is Senior Global Recruitment Manager. What does that mean? It means that I look after a team of people who are there to support everybody in that recruitment space. So that's everybody who is still researching business schools, figuring out if it's the place for them and wants to perhaps connect with the community or learn if this is the right space for them. And so in the recruitment team, our role really is to teach you more about the school. So that's what we'll run through now. And then, as I mentioned, I'll signpost you into various places to continue that research. So what should you know about London Business School if you're going to learn, if you're new tonight to LBS and you need to learn anything about LBS? These are 4 key things that we think are really important. So of course, we feel that we have world-class faculty teaching our students. The curriculum, of course, is incredibly important in terms of your master's degree and where you study. We have academic rigor through everything that we do. And our faculty are also all committed to research during their time teaching at London Business School, meaning that our faculty can bring cutting edge research to the classroom on a daily basis for our students. Next up is our outstanding peer group. So, in recruitment and admissions, we work incredibly hard to find, as Lena mentioned, some of the top talent, whether it be in Africa or elsewhere around the world, to join this peer group. Not only, do we have some fantastic, talented people within that, but we're looking for people who, are specifically curious and collaborative as well in working with other people who perhaps are not necessarily like them in terms of the walk of life that they've come from or sector that they worked in previously. But overall, we are looking to craft a very diverse and outstanding peer group. We're really proud of our London location at LBS. We are based right in the heart of London. So the main campus is just off Regent's Park. So if you Google LBS and have a look, that is a very sort of grand looking building, which is a great place to be and to network and to meet all the other students. And we also have another 2 campuses now as well, which are all sort of within a 1-minute walk of that main campus. So we're incredibly proud of our London location. And why is that, other than the campuses that we have? Well, you know, it is a city that is really the heart of many sectors, whether it be finance and tech now as well. It's a fantastic place for startups and entrepreneurship. And it means that for our students, you know, in terms of looking at recruitment and their employment opportunities following, they're really well connected to a fantastic city, which really is the heart of the business world. It's also a really well-connected city in terms of its positioning, you know, within the world as well. So often our students perhaps might be heading off towards sort of Asia or the US or into Europe for work following their MBA program. And of course, you know, all of that is really well connected. And as well as that, for our students who like to go off on their holidays and trips, as we were just discussing before we started the call, you know, and it's nice and easy for our students to organise their treks too. And then finally, global mindset. So this is something that we're really looking for every applicant to either have or be looking to expand upon at their time at London Business School. So either those people who, you know, can demonstrate that they have had fantastic international experiences already, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have lived or worked in other countries or continents, but actually, you know, it could just be within international teams or working on international projects. But equally, we understand that not everybody's had that opportunity yet either, but maybe they really want to get there and they see that as being really important in developing their career. So that's another key thing that we think that we have and we look to continue at London Business School. So with all of that in mind, I just wanted to introduce you to Awali's class, the MBA 2023 class. So it is made up of 514 students. The average age within the class is 29, which really kind of goes hand in hand with the average years of postgraduate work experience, which is around 5.5. That number really is an average. So the variety in that goes from around 2 years of postgraduate work experience all the way up to around 12 years. But 5.5 is the average, if you want to consider that. As I mentioned before, 90% of the students are international, and we have 38% women on our MBA program in the MBA 2023 class. We work really hard to recruit women, and we are constantly aiming for gender parity on our MBA program. So although we're proud of the percentage of female students, because, you know, we've worked hard for that, we're always striving for that 50%, and we really won't stop until we get there. We're really proud that this year we have reached gender parity in our early careers master's programs. So that's for those who have sort of just graduated their bachelor's degrees and are going straight into their master's programs. So we're really proud of that, and we'll continue to strive towards that in that MBA and post-experience programs too. The average GMAT score is on there. It's 708 this year. It's always somewhere around that 700 mark in general. Lena will go through some of the admissions requirements in a little while and maybe dive into that a little bit more. But overall, we review applications very holistically. So that is just one element of the application to consider. So I'm often asked, what are you looking for in an MBA student? And I spoke about some of those motivations before, but I think some of these things are really key too. And I'd like to invite Dami and Awali to sort of add to this and maybe sort of add some color to it, if you like, as I go through some of these things. So I've mentioned collaborative, I've mentioned that global mindset. You know, we have such a diverse peer group at LBS that it's really important that our students come and then want to learn from that peer group. So we expect students to be collaborative. And one way that we sort of encourage this on the MBA program is by putting students into study groups. So once you start, you put into a stream, there's 500 and something students that you saw there, then in streams of around 70 to 80 people. And then from the stream, we also then create study groups. So a study group is made up of 5 or 6 students. Generally, everybody will be of a different nationality or perhaps even from a different continent, and will also each have a different sector experience, so from a different professional background. And this really encourages very quickly our students to learn to be collaborative in a very diverse setting and environment. But I thought I could invite Dami and Awali at this point to kind of maybe speak about your study group and how that collaboration was, implemented right from the start of your MBA program.
Sure, I can kick off. Yeah, so my study group, we had, I think it's 6 of us. There's a guy from Mexico, another one from Colombia, girl from New Zealand, guy from Japan, an American, and myself, and another guy from Greece. So as Charlotte has said, like extremely international. I think someone said something like being at LBS is like a mini model United Nations, and it definitely feels like that. And I think normally, actually, maybe our LS class be different. I think normally you actually go away for like kind of like a session. So maybe Awele can speak more on that. Because of our kind of times we live in, we had virtual kind of bonding sessions. So I think very early, like the first week or 2 into the term, LBS organized like a simulation where we kind of had to do like a business activities together. And it's really interesting because I've worked in international organization all my life, but I still felt myself challenged because this was like for instance, I've never worked with people from some of these countries before. So it was like right from the get-go, you're challenging yourself to work with different minds, different backgrounds, different cultures. But I think those early sessions really helped in terms of understanding yourselves, because this your study group, you end up doing group activities with them for all your kind of term 1 courses. So that is a very, very, very important part of your kind of first year. And yeah, it's just been really fun. Had a lot of activities together. We're all kind of really good friends now. And yeah, it's just been a great experience. I don't know if Awele has anything else to add. I don't know if you've started actually.
Yeah. I've started all 3 weeks worth of that experience. I'm gonna split it out. So the one thing about the program is that you got, like, in my year, you got like 514 really friendly people and people that are just looking to be here for, have a great experience. Like, everyone's got different things, but the one common thing is that everyone really wants to build a strong network. So since we've arrived, there's been like so many events. So we've been to Brighton. Some people went to Scotland this weekend, and I was so sad I wasn't able to join because I'm isolated. And we're planning a trip to Malta. So you really do have lots of time, lots of experiences to not just spend time with your study group, but to spend time with people from like the wider program as well. And within the study group specifically, one of the things that I really like about the structure is, as Charlotte mentioned, you've got people from different nationalities and also people from different backgrounds, right? So what then happens is that before you come into a program, you have to do like a 360 review where you get inputs from like all the people you've worked on, and they sort of like identify your strengths and your weaknesses. And you find yourself in a position where you're dealing with some of the brightest minds in the world. And whilst dealing with the brightest minds in the world, you're trying to work on your weaknesses and trying to make them sort of less weaknesses and strengths. And I found this very, very challenging and very, very interesting. But all in all, it's been a very great experience. And as I mentioned, you've got people that are very like-minded. I'm not sure if I got lucky, but one of the things I really like about my group is the fact that everyone is very flexible and everyone is emotionally mature to understand that I'm working with people from different backgrounds. There will be clashes along the way, but we're all gonna come back together and settle this as adults. So far, very, very great experience, and looking forward to the next couple of years.
Awesome. Thanks, Awali. Thanks, Dami. So that's great to hear already. And why is this relevant to you now as prospective students? Well, you know, these are the sorts of things you can start to touch upon within your application, you know, so in what projects at work, whether it be professionally or perhaps it's through your extracurricular activity, how are you collaborative and how do you contribute to your peers and support them, as well as, you know, the essay questions, for example, in the application will ask you about your aspirations and why LBS. And of course, that's about what can you come and take from London Business School, but equally, what can you give back to your peers and how can you collaborate with them too? So that's really important. Global mindset I've touched upon a little bit, but let's focus on self-awareness as well. So what do we mean by that? Well, as Awali said, you know, we are looking at your strengths and weaknesses right from the start. So it's important that you are aware of them so that you know what you want to prioritize in terms of what you want to perhaps upskill on or what you really want to work on while at London Business School. It's also about, in general, you know, where are you at in your career and where do you want to be? Can you show self-awareness of that? And again, we're going to be looking for that within your application. We're not going to hold you to whatever you tell us your aspirations are in the application. We're not going to, you know, if you decide to go into consulting and you told us in your application you were going to go into investment banking, we're not going to get that essay out and say that's not what you told us. You've got to go back into consulting. That's absolutely fine, but we're looking for that from the start, that you know an idea of where you want to go. And if that changes, that's fine. You know, that's what an MBA is for, especially a 2-year MBA. You know, there is plenty of time for exploration, so we expect people's ideas and paths to change along the way. But self-awareness really is key, and one of the skill that we're looking for. Global mindset we've touched upon, so I think we can probably move on, Alina. Thank you. So I'm going to quickly run you through the program just in case you are new to LBS and our MBA program, just to give you a short overview. You can get all of this in more detail at other events as well, and perhaps on the chat I'll put in the link for that too, so you can check out any other upcoming events. So first of all, Awali mentioned this, or Dami did, I can't remember now, about the online preparation. So we have 3 modules that are required to be completed prior to you starting your MBA program, and they have always been online. That's not a COVID thing. They are online modules and are completed often before students arrive in London. And then the first term, so it's a 2-year program overall, and the first term is business fundamentals. This is the most prescribed our MBA program gets. It's the only time really where you're going to be told what you're studying and when, because the rest of the program is incredibly flexible. So business fundamentals will cover everything from marketing to finance and some accounting too. So really everything that you can imagine we feel that students need, which are business fundamentals. And then as soon as you head into term 2 and 3 of the first year, that's where you really start to tailor the program yourself. So we call them the tailored core courses. So overall, you're probably going to complete about 5 or 6, depending on the credits and how you build them. But lots of experiential learning comes into this point as well. So for example, the London CAP project, which is a 10-week consulting project, which is, you know, a live brief from London-based business, and our experiential learning team support our students through that, and it's also faculty-led as well. So lots of experiential learning comes in at this point, and this is where you really start to tailor the course depending on maybe the sector that you're looking to head into, or maybe just based on your interests as well. The options for summer, there is not a summer break, unfortunately. Your 2 options are either a summer internship or entrepreneurship summer school, and I have heard of people doing both as well, so I think that is also possible. So recruitment for those summer internships, depending on the sector that you're looking to go and complete your internship in, can start really early in your first year. So it's a good idea to have some kind of idea of what you might want to complete your internship in that first summer. Then all of our students come back for second year, and second year really is a blank canvas. So there are some mandatory elements. So currently they are the electives. So students are expected to complete between 10 and 12 electives. And you can choose to concentrate in one of 8 specific areas within that as well. So for example, entrepreneurship and management, and marketing is another one, tech is another one, and you can choose to have a concentration within the electives that you build in your portfolio too. So other than complete your electives, not only are the electives very flexible in that what you choose, but also how you choose to study them. So Dami was just mentioning before that Dami's not going to start her classes again until the end of September, but some students have already started this last week, just depending on the structure of the electives that they selected. So for example, you can complete them in block weeks, you can also do them through the evening, and then I think the other options are sort of either over 6 weeks or 10 weeks. So how you build your second year really is up to you, and of course we just have support teams in place to support you in how to build that out, but otherwise, it's really your choice. The other flexible thing about the second year, of course, are the exit points as well. So although it's a 2-year program, we also have early exit points at 15 and 18 months. So if you perhaps for financial regions, perhaps because you're a sponsored student and you're looking for a shorter course, or your employer is asking you to look for a shorter course, or perhaps just due to employment opportunities, you are looking to leave a little bit earlier, then that is an option for you as well. We generally find about 90% of the students will remain the full 2 years, and often people are specifically looking for a 2-year program when they choose London Business School, but the early exit point is a choice there also. And then I missed out some other experiential learning opportunities. So also in the second year, you have the option to go on student exchange. So you can go on an exchange program to another international business school. We partner with business schools all over the world for you to go and take exchange options with. They usually are a full term, but we also have some partnerships which are 2 or 4 weeks if you're just looking for that shorter exchange option as well. There are various business projects that you can select within the second year. You can choose to go on further internships in the second year if you want to. You build your electives around all of this. And then we have other experiential learning opportunities, such as the Global Business Experience, which is a 1-week experience in one of 8 locations around the world. Last year, they had to be delivered virtually, of course, due to COVID and travel restrictions. But we're really hoping to get those back to in-person for the year ahead. So that's a quick tour of the MBA and the school, but how can you continue to get to know us? We'll continue to look on the website. It's pretty comprehensive. You can find the MBA page, and on there it can link you off to various parts of the curriculum. You can look at the electives and also the faculty that teach each elective. You can have a look at the events that are coming up on there as well. You can have a look at things around our community. So not only can you find all of our student ambassadors on there so that you can connect with all of them. So Dami is a student ambassador. Hopefully Awali is going to be a student ambassador too. And you can connect with any of them. Their email addresses are on there. We currently have about 96 MBA ambassadors. But you can also find specific pages. So for example, we have a Black in Business Club at London Business School, and we have a Black at LBS webpage. You can go on there and find out lots about various initiatives through the club and through the school on that webpage as well. We have the same for Women in Business and the LGBTQ+ community also. So please do go and check out those pages also if you're interested in any of those initiatives. But yeah, lots of information on the website, so do continue your research there. You can of course also find the brochure for the program if you want more detail about what the 2-year structure looks like, and you can also find all of the employment reports. So if you're interested in where our students go and where they work following their MBA program, I would highly recommend that you download the employment report and have a deeper look into that. I mentioned talking to alumni and student ambassadors. I'll pop the link on the chat box as well. And also check out we have a great student and admissions blog. So some of our current students write blogs there, as do we, regarding top tips for applications. So attend an event, you're here now, so you're doing well there. And then some other parts of LBS I thought you might be interested in, so I thought I'd mention them. Think LBS is a fantastic place where you can go and access all sorts of business acumen, business articles and research. So do go and check that out. There's lots of articles from faculty on there too. And then the Wheeler Institute. So the Wheeler Institute was founded a couple of years ago now, after a donation from Tony and Maureen Wheeler, who are the founders of Lonely Planet, which hopefully you have heard of. And the Wheeler Institute really is around developing business in developing regions. So do have a look at the Wheeler Institute if that's of any interest to you. There's a lot of work there around social impact and sustainability, and a fantastic institute within LBS. Have I got any more, Lena? Okay, and now I am delighted to hand over to Lena, who's going to dive into the application process a little bit more. And again, ask Dami and Awali's thoughts as we go through.
Okay, thank you so much, Charlotte. So yeah, in terms of the application process, we have a standard process where you will have to submit a completed application form by the application deadline of the round you would like to apply in. Once you submit your application, then the admissions committee will review the entire application and will make a decision of whether to shortlist you for an interview or not. If you're shortlisted for an interview, hopefully, you will then have an in-person interview with one of our MBA alumni in your location. Hopefully, this will go back to being an in-person interviews. Obviously, due to COVID, we were doing virtual interviews, but we feel like in person add a lot more value. And after the interviewer will send back an interview feedback to us in admissions. The admissions committee will then review this feedback together with your initial application, and then they will make a final decision. The entire process can last between 8 to 12 weeks, depending on which round you apply. And you can see here in the slides the application deadlines for the MBA2024 class, which it breaks down the rounds that we have and the dates for each round as well. I think it's worth highlighting that we are moving from 4 rounds of applications to 3. So the first application deadline is coming up next week on the 10th of September. The second one is the 6th of January, and the third and last one is the 25th of March. These deadlines are all available on our website too. Okay, so in terms of the application requirements, there are quite a few things that you will need to submit. So it's always good to start preparing your application with plenty of time. So when the deadline comes, you will have everything ready. We take a holistic approach, like Charlotte mentioned before, when we review applications. So all the factors that you can see here on the slide are considered when you submit an application. The first step is to submit 1-page CV together with the online application form, in which you can really help us to get to know your background better, your current responsibilities, more about your role, reasons for taking a job, reasons for leaving a role as well. Anyway, like be a little bit more, go a little bit more into detail about this as well. We also require 1 professional reference, essays, which we have 2. 1 is compulsory and 1 is optional. We also require GMAT or GRE. The average, like we saw before in the presentation, for GMAT is 708 for the current class, but this is just a baseline, kind of like to give you an indication when you are preparing for your application as well. and transcripts from your previous degrees as well. So like I was saying, in terms of the GMAT or GRE scores, we do know that this is most of the challenging parts of an MBA application for candidates. But we do accept a wide range of scores, which really goes in line with our holistic approach. So the admissions committee, like I mentioned, considers everything that you submit with your entire application package, and they don't use the GMAT only as an only reference to make a final decision. Our range at the moment goes from 600 up to 790. So just to give you an idea as you prepare your application. So essays are an opportunity to distinguish yourself. Show us that you have done some research and also be clear about what you would like to achieve. Once again, as Charlotte mentioned before, we understand that this is a 2-year program and your aspirations and your post-MBA goals might change. So we always ask candidates to be clear in what they like to achieve, but also come to the program and come to campus with an open mind as well, because then the goals can change as they go along. You learn so much from your peers, you get to experience going into different industries, maybe during the London Cup Core, or maybe as you do your internships, that these goals might change. But what the admissions committee like to see is that you have something in mind, something clear, as in like where you come from, how LBS is going to help you achieve that goal, and what is that goal as well. So I think this is really a good opportunity for maybe Dami or Awele to jump in and maybe give us a few tips on the essays. Like, I know the essays are a big part of the application. So do you guys have any maybe 3 tips that you would like to add to the audience, as in when they write in their essays?
I can jump in
Dami,
first.
do you want to go first?
Yeah. I'll just speak as comes to mind. I think, to be honest, I think LBS has one of the easiest essays. I think it's quite straightforward, assuming that the question, I think, is still the same when I applied. I think my advice would be, as Lena mentioned, like, be very clear in your head. Let your story make sense, basically. Like, so connect the dots as to where you're coming from, where you are, and where you want to get to. And I think, as Charlotte mentioned, it's okay, like, not to have absolutely everything figured out, and it's okay to change your mind. But I think have a very kind of firm idea as to why you're doing this, and communicate that quite clearly. I think another thing I would say is like, don't waste words. So I think really think about how you can tell a compelling story. Admissions read a lot of essays. So I think just think about how you can tell it in a compelling way, such that it's kind of captivating, et cetera, et cetera. I think also, well, this is partly essays, but also the application form, don't undersell yourself. I think, especially because we all bring unique things to the table. And it's, obviously a very competitive program. So I think about, if you could on one page kind of highlight all the strengths and what makes you unique and special, and that's in every single person here. Try and get that down. So think about not just from work, but from school, positions of responsibility, and just all areas of life, things that you've done that make you different, and definitely get that in your application. It doesn't have to, it's LBS is so diverse, and it's open to any experience, really.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dami. Awele, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, and then from my side, the way I sort of approached the essay application was almost thinking of trying to like get into a partnership with LBS. So you first need to understand yourself, then you need to understand LBS, and then you need to find where there's an overlap, and where that overlap is where you really try to hit home, and trying to go through that process, I personally found it very hard. I found it very hard. Self-reflection is very, very difficult, especially when you don't know your blind spots. But the way I sort of guarded against that was that I got my family members. So I got my best friend, I got my mom, I got my uncle, and I got my senior manager at work to actually review it and tell me, you've gone through it, you understand what LBS is, but are you actually writing this for LBS, or is this the Awele that we know and that we engage with every day? And I found it very, very helpful for me to try and bring my authentic self. And then there was a point that Damilola mentioned on don't undersell yourself. I'll be very open. As Africans, we tend to undersell ourselves. And it's a natural thing. Like, if you don't believe you've done it, you'd rather choose not to put it in. And this is where the importance of getting someone else to review your CV, especially your manager, if you're open to your manager or an ex-colleague. Because sometimes you speak to them and you write about something and they'll be like, no, you did way more than that. You'll be like, no, I didn't. They'll be like, you definitely did. So write more about it. And that becomes really important in making sure that you don't undersell yourself, but at the same time, you try and get your authentic self through.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I think those are really valid points for everyone to take into consideration if they may be finishing writing off their essays to apply for round 1, or if they're preparing their applications for round 2 that is coming up in January. Okay, selecting your referee. That's another big question that we usually get from prospective candidates who are preparing their applications. So there are 3 things. Who makes a good referee? How much weight does a job title carry? And what if I don't plan to disclose my plans to my line manager? We do take all of these points into consideration. I would like to start by highlighting that we are moving from asking 2 referees to 1 only. So we do take all of these points into consideration. Who makes a good referee? Someone who actually knows you very well in a professional setting. Someone who has the time to write a good recommendation about yourself. And this is when the job title comes in, because I think that sometimes applicants, they think so much about the job title of their referees that they don't think so much about how much interaction they've had in their professional life. Maybe they want the CEO to be the referee, and then that person either doesn't know them very well, or maybe they don't have the time to write the reference in a lot of detail. So the referee form actually goes into a lot of detail. So you do want to make sure that you make that you give some thought to who your referee is going to be, and not just focus on their job title. And if you don't plan to tell your employer that you're applying for an MBA, that's absolutely fine. We understand that this is the case for a lot of candidates as well. So you can ask maybe a colleague, you can ask a client that you have worked with during the years, or maybe you can ask your previous employer as well, if that's the case. Maybe that's one of the things that I missed mentioning in the previous slide, and that's what the second essay is for. That maybe is you be able to highlight something you're really proud of, or maybe you want to highlight something about your application that you're concerned. Maybe you want to tell us the reason why you choose the referee that you chose. Maybe you want to highlight why maybe your GMAT score is not as strong, or something that happened during your academic performance at university as well. So those are important things, and that's why when we ask you to start preparing your application with time, those are the little things that you have to consider as the application deadline comes up. And finally, hopefully, if you do apply for the MBA at LBS, and if you are selected for an interview, I would like to ask Dami and Awele also, how was their experience in terms of their interview as well. But like I mentioned before, you will be interviewed by one of our MBA alumni in your location. So in the admissions team, what we like to do is we like to match you with someone who is in the same industry as you are. So maybe that interview comes as a two-way communication process where that alumni wants to find more information about yourselves, of course, but is an opportunity as well for you to ask them questions about the industry, about their experience during their MBA, and also about how the LBS experience helped them to achieve the position where they are at the moment. So this is a really good experience, and we really hear amazing feedback from candidates. But I want to hear a little bit more from Dami and Awele. Maybe Awele, because you went through the admissions process so recent. How was your interview experience with the MBA alumni?
Yeah, my interview experience was very great. I got in there, I was nervous. There was traffic on the way. I arrived just 5 minutes before and I was nervous. And he took time to calm me down. So it was a very humane interaction. So it's not someone I sort of went in there with the mentality that this person is trying to mark me down, but that wasn't what I came out as. This guy was trying to find out what it is about me that would be able to, fit into LBS. And I really liked that humane, that personal touch to it. And even after the interview and I got my admission, he actually reached out to me again and got in touch and gave me some advice. So that was very great. And then a little bit more in the interview process. And again, it's sort of a mindset that I think as Africans we don't have a lot, is to make sure you also interview your interviewer, because they are LBS alumni, they've been through the program and they know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So that is your chance to also interview them. Like I said, it's like a partnership. You need to make sure that you want LBS as much as LBS wants you. And that is an opportunity to make sure you ask them the critical questions. And through that, I got quite a lot of advice and a lot that I'm trying to see if I can implement during my time at LBS. And yeah, so really enjoyed it, very humane and a great way to learn about the school from someone that's actually been there.
Great, Dami. Is there anything you would like to add?
Not too much. I think similar to Awele, I was pretty nervous as well. And again, similar to him, I had such a great experience. So I was interviewed by a lady called Sheto. I was in Lagos at the time. And that's one thing I personally love about LBS's approach, by the way, which is connecting with people from your background. I think that also naturally kind of helps your chances, just because you kind of form an automatic connection with the people that you interview with usually. But yeah, it was honestly, I remember just thinking like, wow, that was really fun and really chilled. And because you've done, hopefully, do your research. You've done your research. So you come in knowing exactly, why do you want LBS and kind of the basic questions that you'd have gone through on your application anyway. And I think, as Awele said, they're not looking to catch you out. So I think for me, it was just more genuinely her trying to get to know me as a person. So yeah, I think it's just, my advice would just be like, do your research. Don't just be your authentic self. Like, don't go in wanting to, trying to say what they want, what you think they want to hear, but what you genuinely believe to be your position. If it's still the same, there's also like, before the live interview with the interviewer, there's like a recording you have to do as well. I think my advice for that as well would just be kind of, because the time limit is very short. I think it's like 1.5 minutes or so per question. So just practice, make sure that you're not caught out and that you can just capture your thoughts succinctly. But yeah, I think generally, because I interviewed with a couple of schools as well. And again, LBS's process, I think is quite straightforward and hopefully should be quite enjoyable as well.
Great. Thank you.
Lina, can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to pick up on something Awali said about how LBS are not looking to kind of catch you out. And that's the same in the interview with the alumni, but it's throughout the application. You know, Lena and I would have very sad jobs if we were just looking for the negatives in your application. We're always looking for, you know, why you are the good fit. It's always the positive approach, and looking for why, you know, you are right for London Business School. So yeah, do not worry about being kind of caught out in any part of the admissions process. We're very human. You can see us, we are human. We are a team of humans who, you know, are just looking to learn more about you. And some of the questions in the application, you might think, why are they asking me that? But it's really just to understand more about you as a person and the whole of you. So when we talk about this holistic approach, we want you to bring the whole of you, and we will be holistic in reviewing that as well. You know, so we won't only focus on your academic ability, but also, you know, what are you contributing to your community, and what's your extracurricular activity? And you know, we want to learn more about you and your personal network and family and so on as well. So all of that is really important. And I feel I had one other thing to say on that, but I've lost it. So you continue, Lena, and I'll maybe remember.
Yeah, you jump in when it comes back to you, but I absolutely agree with all of you. And I think that Charlotte is right. Like, we want to see the good in you. We want to believe that if you're applying for an MBA, it's because you want to achieve great things in life. So that's why when Awele and Dami come to say that oversell yourself, don't undersell yourself, that is really important. You want to tell us the good things about yourself. Also, like, be genuine as well, but make sure that you do put in paper all the great things that you have achieved throughout your academic and your professional career as well. And by the way, both of you, if you say that you weren't nervous for the interview, I think you be lying. Okay, so I think this is the last bit from us. We wanted to touch obviously on funding options, because we understand that financing your MBA is a big part of your preparation, and we're very proud to have a modest but a growing portfolio of scholarships as well. So I think, as well as looking into scholarships, it is also important to highlight every applicant should consider and plan funding prior applying. We encourage you all to check out loan schemes, sponsorship opportunities as well with your employers, and savings. All of this is part of your research, part of your application preparation. You don't want to put a lot of effort in your application, and then once you receive an offer, having to decline because of funding reasons. But the majority of our MBA scholarships are merit-based and celebrate the achievement and quality demonstrated throughout the admission process and throughout your professional and academic life as well. We have a range of scholarships available for candidates coming from different regions. Also, candidates coming from different industries, such as we have the scholarship, the Tech Disrupt scholarship. We also have scholarships for those coming from the military and those coming from the healthcare. What these scholarships do, they help us support a diverse representation within the LBS community, and also build the breadth of experience that students learn from whilst they are in the program. As most of you are based in Africa, we wanted to highlight that at LBS, we have a large amount of scholarships set aside for African candidates. These awards are based on merit and financial needs as well. This is because we recognize the importance and the benefits of having a diverse student body. And like I said at the start of the session, because there is a great pool of talent in Africa that might not consider going to business school because of funding reasons to start with. So the scholarships that we have on offer and the ones that, in my opinion, you should keep an eye and maybe read a little bit more about on our website are the Mo Hebraim Foundation, which maybe Awele can tell us a little bit more about. We also have the Gary Lobner Scholarship and the African Scholarship. These are awards that you will be automatically considered for, and there is no need to apply. But we also have the Black in Business Scholarship, with Charlotte mentioned before, which is a new scholarship aimed at those who show commitment to racial equality and those who will be willing to support the Black in Business Club at LBS as well. We also have the Laidlaw Scholarship for women, for which you will also need to apply. And this scholarship is set aside for exceptional women who might not be able to afford higher education otherwise. And finally, we also have the Romba Scholarship, which is another award you will need to apply for. And this is one open to those influential candidates that would like to be active within the LGBTQ+ community. So I think that is it from us. I just want to say once again, thank you to everyone who has joined this session. I know that maybe we're running a little bit behind, so happy to take a few questions, taking that Dami and Awele are here with us. So Charlotte, I will hand over to you to moderate the panel.
Thank you, Lena. Dami and Awele, have you got a few minutes to stay a little bit longer?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully all of you on the call have got a little bit of extra time too. Actually, Lena, I think I'll come to you for this first question, if that's okay. As soon as you've just wrapped up, don't go anywhere too soon. We were asked, oh, I've lost the question. This chat jumps around a little bit. I think somebody had asked, what was some common, I don't know if they use the word mistakes that we see in the application essays, which I thought was a really interesting question, because every essay is so different that a mistake, I mean, there are some, right? We can talk about some, but it's, you know, generally you can't go too wrong. There is a reason that it's such an open-ended question, and that's because we just want you to be your authentic self and respond to it in the way that you authentically would, in being your true self. Keeping in mind Dami and Awele's advice around, you know, ensuring that you do sell yourself, and don't forget all of the positive and great things that you've done professionally. But Lena, what are some kind of key mistakes that sometimes you will see when reviewing essays?
I think now that you mention about it, I think one of the most common mistakes that we see is that candidates kind of like replicate what's on their CV in their essays. So it's very common to kind of like just kind of like translate what you have in your experience back in the essay. But again, we do have your CV. We've seen what you've done so far. So I think it is a waste of a space to just say the same thing that you've done so far. So it's fair enough that you want to highlight some achievements, but don't replicate what's in your CV, because I would say that's maybe the most common mistake that we see in essays.
Great, thanks, Lena. Exactly that. I would just add, you know, answer the question. Write your answer and then think, did I answer the question? In that first essay question, we're looking to learn about your aspirations. So post MBA, perhaps what you want to do during your MBA program in terms of, you know, what clubs do you want to be involved in at LBS? What electives are you really excited for? And that's where all of this research that I told you to go and do will really come into play. But mostly we just want to know what you want to do after your MBA. Why are you looking to do an MBA now? And make sure you can answer that question. Even if you're unsure, just tell us what a good idea is, something that you think that you will want to explore, and don't be too open with that. You know, if you've got 3 ideas, only tell us one. And sometimes that will be the immediate one and the long term, and that's fine. But just make sure that you've got a path to tell us about. And another really obvious one is, do not tell us that you're so excited to start at Harvard Business School or Columbia Business School or any other business school, LSE. You know, we are London Business School. So try not to, well, do not copy and paste your essays. And, you know, even if you're kind of speaking about similar things across various essays, just make sure your essay is really personalized to LBS or whichever school you're applying to. If we see that, you're not going to make us very happy. So try not to do that. But otherwise,
that's why it's so important that you get someone else to read your essays.
Yes.
Because you've done them so many times that even if you want to submit an essay for LBS, that you don't see that part where you don't change the school. And also, like Charlotte mentioned, if you're doing a generic essay for all the schools, we're not going to see the research. We're not going to see that specific research that you have done about us. And then it goes back to how much do you want LBS, and how much do you think you're fit for us as well. So really good point, Charlotte.
Thanks, Lena. Okay, and then kind of sticking on that theme a little bit, Dami, you know, you'll have completed your essay, and I could have dug into the archives and found what you told us you wanted to do, but I didn't do that much prep for today. Maybe you can tell us what you initially wanted to explore specifically and what you told us in that essay, and then how the year has gone, where you did your internship, and where are you at now? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so really interesting for me because I came in really wanting to explore. So as Charlotte said at the beginning, I'm a corporate lawyer in terms of my background. And when I was because I had several ideas, but one thing at that time, so when I was applying, that I had done a lot of research on was consulting. I spoke to a lot of people in the industry, and it was, I think, what I was like maybe 70% sure I wanted to go for. And so I did that in terms of I tried to recruit for that. Interviewed with a couple of consulting firms. I also was on the BCG Women's Fellowship Program for the year. I was not successful with an actual consulting internship, which isn't the end of the world because you can then recruit full-time, which a lot of people are doing now. But I think for me, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I more generally have been exploring the social impact space, and healthcare is like a big area of interest. And so I ended up at a healthcare tech firm called EVA, which kind of works in electronic medical records. And it was a lot of fun because I think when I told myself kind of, okay, what do I want to get out of an internship? Working kind of within a business, because I'd never worked within an actual business. I've always been on the advisory side. And then working directly with the CEO, I kind of helped them with kind of their roadmap over the next 5 years, did a little bit of kind of application also for government funding. So it was a real mix. And I'm now kind of here and still thinking about whether I'm going to apply for consulting again. But I think definitely exploring the social impact space more. And I think exactly as Charlotte said, I've done what I explored what I intended to do. And I think that's opened more doors. And I'm just kind of chasing multiple paths, and then we'll see where we end up.
Awesome. Thanks, Dami. And where are you at in terms of length of study, planning to remain for the full 21 months?
Yes, hopefully so. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, maybe if I can do another internship as well, just because that's the benefit of the flexibility of the second year. But yeah, I think for me, I just want to get my money's worth and get the most of LBS. So hopefully do the whole 2 years. But I think I'll end up depending on what the job offer comes with, if I have to shorten it or not. But fingers crossed, not. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. And great insights into how you've managed to explore and how you can continue to through the second year as well. This is not the end.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. And Awali, can you tell us a little bit about your aspirations? You know, why did you choose the MBA and what are you looking to do? I know you're right at the start, but right now, what are your aspirations?
So yeah, when I applied to the MBA, one of the things that I really wanted was to continue my current path. So currently work at an activist investment fund, and governance is very central to our investment strategy. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was to come and build my leadership skills at LBS and growing that, as well as grow a global mindset and my global perspective, which I could then bring back to the continent with improved governance, which would hopefully then start leading some private sector improvements that should help the country as a whole. That was what I had at the beginning of the MBA, and one of the questions that they asked during GLAM, so GLAM is the Global Leadership Assessment for Managers, was, we know what you wrote in your essay. What do you really want out of LBS? So it comes back to the point that they really do let you explore as much as you can. And one of the areas that I'm considering exploring now is VC, the VC space, because in the VC space, so if you really want to have an impact on governance and how businesses govern themselves and impact the community, there's no better place to have that impact than when the business is just starting up. That's really when you can build that culture of governance. And this was something I picked up in my interview, in my obvious interview, as I mentioned. And it's something that I'll be thinking about and just keeping my eyes on. So yeah, again, just being in the environment perspective, speaking to lots of people, and just seeing where that takes you.
Great, thanks, Awali. And I know that there will continue to be lots of club kickoffs. So we have around 80 student clubs at London Business School. That's everything from the inclusion clubs that I mentioned. So Women in Business, Black in Business, FLY, which is first generation low or intermediate income families and generations, and the Out in Business Club as well. We also have our professional clubs, which is everything from consulting to the PEVC club to luxury and retail and luxury, and many others. Then we have our sports clubs, we have social clubs, the Snow Club do a massive skiing trip every year, and all of these clubs bring so many initiatives and professional opportunities. You know, they're clubs, but they're not just socials, they're not just for fun, they're run like businesses, you know, and it's often our MBA students who are the presidents of those clubs. So they're all the clubs that we have. Awali, I'm sure you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the invites to all of the club kickoffs and everything, but have you managed to have a think about any clubs that you might want to be a part of or a member of?
Yes, so for me, the one club that I'm going to be part of is definitely the Africa Business Club. That is very central to why I am at LBS in the first place and why I chose London, just that direct access to what you call it, Africa. And then the second is the Black in Business Club as well. So that's definitely one. And then the other club that I'm going to join is the what do you call it, the rugby club. So at some point in my life, I wanted to become a professional rugby player. Hung up with 7 years ago. Gonna pick them up again and play and just have a good time and just meet lots of people. And the club is just a very nice way to just meet people in a very relaxed setting, and just get to know people more on a personal level. And there are loads for all sorts of interests. There's an acting club, there's a wine club, there's a food club, like it's whatever you want. And if there isn't a club for what you want, start it and you'll join it.
Exactly. Thank you, Awali. And great to hear that you're going to be a part of those clubs and looking forward to working with you on some of those. And Dami, do you want to add some of the clubs that you've been involved in during your time?
Yeah, sure. So I was, I think because I'm a student ambassador, I just decided that I only wanted to be on the Exco for 2 clubs max. So I was on the Exco for Africa Club. And so helped out basically with the speakers, getting a whole bunch of speakers from across the continent over the last year, which was great fun and a great way to build the network as well. Consulting club, because I was recruiting for consulting. So that was really, really kind of influential in my recruiting process. And then more of like the fun clubs, tennis, climbing, women in business as well. And then I think social impact club. I think there was a social impact week at some point during the year, which was great as well. So yeah, so many clubs to get involved with. It's honestly quite overwhelming. So you'll find your interests and what works for you, really.
Thank
And
you.
sorry, Charlotte, can I just add something quickly? So one of the misconceptions I had was that the African Club was just for African people, but actually that's not it. So
yeah,
I got invited to the Latin America Club. So like people actually, it's all part of like the experience, like just enjoying everything, just being part of everything, building that global perspective. I got invited to what you call it, the Latin Club, and my flatmates and the North American group, and I'll be joining them at events as well. So it just builds that experience beyond what it is that you actually know.
Thanks, Awali. And we haven't spoken about Sundowners, but Sundowners is a Thursday night activity that happens, I can't remember now if it's every Thursday or every other Thursday on campus. And students, staff, anybody can go along, and there's food and there's free drinks until they run out. And yeah, it's a fantastic place to go and network and just socialize with peers. And, you know, it's not just MBA students. I mean, our MBA students have the opportunity to work with all the other master's degree programs through the elective portfolio, but, you know, obviously through these social situations, that's another fantastic time to kind of cross network with other programs too. And, you know, they have people to mix with there. But yeah, on Sundowners, so various clubs will host the Sundowners each Thursday. So for example, if the Latin America Club are hosting, it's a great place to go and sort of learn more about the club and maybe choose to get involved in some of their initiatives and parties, which I'm pretty sure what Latin America Club are mostly all about. Yeah, a lot of fun, Joladi. There's a lot of fun at LBS for sure. So I haven't seen any other questions. I have just had one question sent to me, which was asking if I could shed more light on how important extracurriculars and contributions to community are in the application. If you have lots of extracurricular activity and you've contributed a lot to community, then of course tell us about it in the application. That's really important for us to know, because we're looking to understand more about the whole of you. So no matter what it is, we would really like to know about it. So of course, find the space to do that. If you haven't managed to do so through any of the application questions, then you might want to use that second essay to shed a little bit more light on that. But also in saying that, you know, don't feel that if you haven't had, you know, the time or capacity, perhaps you lead a very busy professional life, as many of our applicants do, and maybe you haven't had much time to kind of contribute to your community. Don't feel that now you've got to rush out and join sort of a local charity to go and do that before you apply, because that's not being the authentic you. So whoever you are, tell us about it in your application. If you have made lots of contributions, that's fantastic. We would really like to hear about it. But if you haven't, then you haven't. It doesn't mean that this isn't the place for you or that you shouldn't apply. You should still do so, and just do so authentically.
I think it is also worth mentioning that maybe if you are in those early stages of your research as well, extracurricular activities also give us a really good indication of maybe how active you plan to be in the LBS community. We always talk about the LBS culture as a very collaborative environment. So I think the extracurricular activities give us a good indication of how active you may be in the community once you join the program. And now that you touch on that, Charlotte, and say to candidates to attendees that there's not a requirement to be really active or to go and join a charity if they haven't done so before, I think it's also worth mentioning in terms of the international experience and that global mindset that we're always looking at candidates, that it's not necessary for you to have an international experience if you haven't had the opportunity. We always welcome candidates and students who have maybe lived in just one country or maybe one city, but what we look for in candidates is that desire to expand on their global network, to learn from different cultures, because as you heard from Dami and Awele before, the study groups, you're going to be working with peers from completely different backgrounds, completely different cultures. So that's when the international aspect comes to play in terms of your application, in terms of your profile as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Lena. Thank you for adding that.
Okay, Charlotte, Lena, I don't know, do we have any more questions?
No, I was going to suggest that we wrap up. I haven't seen any more, but
we're getting carried away with the time.
We are.
Yeah. Oh, wow. But thank you guys so much. Wow, it's 9:21. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate this. And LBS taking out the time, I mean, LBS is close to my heart. I'm sure you guys know that. So maybe I'm super excited, but thank you guys so much for doing this. Thanks, Awele. Thanks, Dami. And thanks everyone for hopping on the session. We actually had 100 people on this session for quite a while. That was exciting. And it really just shows that people are really looking forward to, turning in their application. So thanks again, guys. And yeah, hopefully you would be getting quite a ton of applications coming from